Okay, world history. So obviously, you guys have probably watched the video launch of our unit here, kind of dealing with the legacy of imperialism, the West and its influence on parts around the world, whether it be Africa, Southeast Asia. And we're focusing this week a little bit more on South Asia, with Pakistan, India, Bangladesh, and also through in Indonesia, which was the first part of your section you did in TCI. And so my teaching today is going to be dealing with, I guess you could say, the country of Pakistan. We're going to talk a little bit about India today, and also the small country located right here, kind of known as Bangladesh. And so that's going to be my teaching for the week. And again, pen in hand notes, and write this stuff down maybe on a piece of paper, and then you can add it to your living document. Add some pictures and maps that kind of go with your notes. And again, I'm going to kind of leave that up to you with how many pictures and maps that you add that kind of help tell the story of, I guess you could say, the partitioning of Pakistan and Bangladesh and India. So the multi-sensory stuff, I'll leave that up to you. The pen in hand notes is obviously what I'm going to be presenting on next. Now, I know we're going to miss this, but if we were in class right now, if we were back in the brick and mortar, this would have been the map quiz that would have gone with this particular unit. And as you can see, kind of a small map quiz. So this probably would have been what we would call a freshman map quiz. So we probably would have took this map quiz on either probably like a Thursday, probably grading it at the Think, Pair, Share table, where everybody seems they score really well when you grade at Think, Pair, Share. So that's always a good thing when you get some good scores. So that would have been the map that we would have had, labeling countries like Nepal, Bhutan, India, Bangladesh, doing some coloring, so maybe next year, hopefully next year, we can use this for a map quiz and a freshman map quiz. So that's the outline map of South Asia. And so when we talk about this area becoming free and independent from the West, again, it's an area that was once colonized by Europe. The rivalries and the resources. And this area of South Asia was once ruled by the British. And there were many reasons why the British kind of colonized this area and wanted to hang on to this area. The one that I threw down was the salt mines. And of course, back at the beginning of colonization, we know that salt was important because salt was a way to make your food taste better. Salt was a way to keep food fresher a little bit longer. And so the salt mines was one of the big magnets that kind of brought the Europeans to this area to colonize it. Again, after World War II, there became this quest for freedom and independence. Remember, in World War II, the Allies fought against oppression. We fought against Nazi oppression. We fought against Japanese oppression. And so again, not to be two-faced or be like double standard, we can't go out and fight a world war to end oppression. And then when the war gets over, continue to be the oppressors. And so again, after World War II, 1946, 1947, etc., the wave, I guess you could say, of freedom and independence kind of swept the globe. So after World War II, this area of South Asia was granted independence. What the British did was, and they did this a couple times too, like in the Middle East and other areas, they kind of drew up the borders. They kind of drew up the partitioning plan. In other words, how we were going to break up this area of land to be free and independent. And more times than not, the British partitioning plan just created more issues. Borders were drawn where it kind of separated families, it separated cultures, it separated religions. Borders were drawn up where maybe a group of people but then became the minority group, and they didn't want to be the minority group. They wanted to be part of the majority group. So the British partition plan, as they drew the borders for these new countries, obviously created a lot of issues and challenges as South Asia became free and independent. So to make a long story short, basically, Pakistan was going to be established as a Muslim nation. And obviously, we know that religion just plays a role in so many things. And religion can lead to a lot of issues and a lot of challenges and wars as well. But Pakistan was going to be established as a Muslim nation. India was going to be established as a Hindu nation. So you got a couple different religious groups here. And so again, if you're in Pakistan today, it's a Muslim nation dominated by Muslims. If you're in India, it's a Hindu nation. But this partitioning that the British came up with really caused a mass migration. And so what happens is in Pakistan, up here in orange, if you were Hindu, you did not want to live in Pakistan because you're going to be under the rule of Muslim rule. You were worried about probably persecution, being picked on. And so it caused a mass wave of migration of Hindus fleeing, I guess you could say, Pakistan and moving into India. At the same time, you had a mass wave of Muslims that were living in India who kind of said the same thing, that we don't want to live under Hindu rule and be picked on, persecuted, be like second, third class citizens. So you have this wave. You can kind of see some of the arrows on here that people just were literally like crisscrossing, because they kind of wanted to live in an area where they felt safe. And, I think that's something that we all can relate to about being safe, that you want to be able to live in a house. You want to be able to live in a neighborhood. You want to be able to live in a town or a city or a state or a country, where you feel relatively safe. And if you don't feel safe, then you're going to try to do your best to move and to relocate. And so what we have here is that we have the nations that were created, again, 1947-ish, not a big date guy, but that's roughly the time period. So we get this brand new nation up here in orange called West Pakistan. That's right, I did not misspeak. At that point, it was known as West Pakistan. Over here was going to be a country called East Pakistan. And so you got West Pakistan, East Pakistan, and obviously smack dab right in the middle is you're going to have India. And so if I can kind of make an example of some of the challenges that are going to come from this, is the Muslims and the Hindus in these areas don't like each other. There's going to be friction. There's going to be fighting. There's going to be wars. And so you can kind of see part of the problem is West Pakistan and East Pakistan. It's not that they're separated, but what's separating them is the country of India, which is kind of like their rival. It's different, between, if you can think of the United States, we have 48 states that are connected, and then we have 2 states that are disconnected. We have Hawaii and Alaska. Now, the difference is, I think, between like the United States, 48 states, and Alaska is, yes, we are separated by another country. We are separated by Canada. But maybe the biggest difference is, the United States and Canada, we've been friends for quite a long time. We have good trade relationships. The border crossing is loose. Obviously, probably not as tight as it is on our southern border with Mexico. Canada is one of our largest trading partners. We share a common language. We share a common religion. So obviously, if you're going to travel from, Minnesota to Alaska, you got to go through Canada. And of course, you're going to have some, border crossings and some custom checks. You're going to be dealing with different currency, but for the most part, it's not going to be that big of a red flag. But between West Pakistan and East Pakistan being separated by their rival India, that's going to make communication and travel, obviously a lot more challenging. Okay. So the challenge was not necessarily the split of West Pakistan, Muslim, East Pakistan, Muslim. It was going to be separated by their rival, right smack dab in the middle of India. Now, what will happen is over about 20 years, there's going to be some tension brewing, some tension growing between West Pakistan and East Pakistan. Obviously, when you look at the map, you can kind of see that, West Pakistan is bigger, East Pakistan is smaller, East Pakistan doesn't have as many people. The West seems like it has more business and industry. It's the location of the capital. So I guess if we did like a chart and we kind of listed out the advantages of West Pakistan and the advantages of East Pakistan, I think the West Pakistan advantages would be a lot longer than the East. And so the East Pakistanis, always kind of felt like, they were getting the shaft, that they were always kind of like on the outside looking in. And so that just kind of led to like all the attention goes to West Pakistan, and East Pakistan. We're just kind of like almost like irrelevant. And so for about 20 years, there was some tension brewing between West Pakistan and East Pakistan. And of course, probably India in the middle there kind of like that idea because, that just kind of maybe, you know, helps them out because these two sides that are on the same side don't get along. And we see that sometimes in sports where you have a team and there might be infighting on the team. There might be backstabbing on the team. And so you're still a team, you're still wearing the same uniform, but at the end of the day, you're probably maybe not as united as you should be. Things kind of came to I guess you could say, a turning point because there's always a turning point in the early 70s. I think it was 1971 is eventually East Pakistan is going to declare its independence. They're saying, "Hey, we're going to break up. We're going to declare independence." And what happens is, in the early 70s, East Pakistan is devastated. It was either a typhoon or a cyclone. I've read where. I've read both, but basically, when you look at the picture, that's devastating. That's like a hurricane, coming through like South Florida and kind of ripping things up. And so, what East Pakistan felt was following this natural disaster, that the West offering aid in the West, that's West Pakistan, offering aid and help was really slow, methodical. It was almost kind of like East Pakistan was kind of left on their own. And so, kind of following this natural disaster, and the East Pakistan said, okay, that's the last straw. You guys, the West, you obviously don't care. You're in no hurry to get here and offer help. And so that just kind of led to East Pakistan declaring its independence. And so, in declaring their independence, they changed their name to the name today known as Bangladesh. As East Pakistan declares this independence, because really, if you were India, and again, you kind of have a threat of Pakistan on one border. You kind of have the threat of East Pakistan on the other border. In all honesty, your biggest threat was West Pakistan in this area up here, kind of known as Kashmir. So when East Pakistan declares its independence, known as Bangladesh, India obviously came to the aid of this new nation, saying, "Hey, if the West Pakistan is not going to support you, we will. We'll give you some aid, some money, some military assistance." And so eventually that will lead to the independence movement of what we now know as Bangladesh. So again, at the end of World War II, the partition plan by the British kind of divided up the area of land based on religion. You had West Pakistan, you had East Pakistan, and then that eventually will not work out, where today you have like Pakistan, India, and Bangladesh. So it's kind of like at the end of World War II, the Allies divide up Germany. If you remember our unit on Germany, West Germany, East Germany, West Berlin, East Berlin, and that was the map quiz from like the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. And then obviously that all changed in the 90s when Germany became united. And obviously here in the 70s, this map of Southeast Asia changed again from West Pakistan to East Pakistan. So put this information in your living document, pen in hand, and obviously type it in and add your own pictures and maps that kind of go with it. So that brings my teaching done for the week. So I think for the most part, you guys know what you got to do to finish up your living document. Again, it's due Friday at 5 o'clock. If you can get in earlier, that'd be great. And again, your on deck will be daily, and I'll double up on Thursday. So I know many of you get that done on Thursday to get it done. So Friday, you're like done. So that is the teaching moment of the legacy of imperialism. And good luck. I know we will do well. And signing out. Till next week. 1, 2, 3.